Hello, guys. Welcome. Today is episode 5, I believe. FineWineToMe, the wine business podcast. And today I have a special guest, Beatrix Mészáros, who is originally from Hungary, but she lives in the UK now. And although we talked quite a few times already, and we're both Hungarians, live in England, we never actually met in person, which is quite funny. But nevertheless, today I wanted to talk about AI in wine because I think that's a hot topic right now. And I think we can agree that the wine industry is not necessarily the industry which is straightforward place where it comes to innovation. We can discuss that a little bit as well. So welcome, Bea, and please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the invitation to your podcast, and congrats to the new podcast. So, I'm Beatrix, and I have worked in digital marketing and advertising for 15 years, and now I specialize in teaching marketers how to integrate AI tools into their everyday work. So basically, every day I'm testing new AI tools and I'm experimenting with AI tools. And I try to find solutions to basically simplify marketing tasks with AI tools.
And I believe that might be a question in people's mind. Why are you here on a wine business podcast? But I'm probably just going to explain very briefly that, first of all, you are a wine lover. Secondly, you worked with wine businesses before, both in Hungary and in the UK, and you are working with one at the moment as well. Yeah. But let's talk about that a little bit later. I would say, first of all, let's go with sort of our first topic, and let's talk a little bit about you still. What made you change from digital marketing to AI, or have you changed, or did you just sort of combine the two passions together?
Yeah, the latter. So I haven't really changed. I have just completed or combined, as you said, my digital marketing expertise with AI. Since the launch of ChatGPT, I've been very much interested in this technology and I was very much impressed by it. And I've decided basically I've decided to experiment with AI, and just one day it came the idea to find solutions and simplify the marketing work. So I gave myself goals to learn about AI, and I gave myself, and I'm still giving myself, certain goals. I do have certain milestones that I want to reach in my self-education, basically in AI. And I very much believe in learning by doing every day. And I'm thinking about new typical everyday marketing tasks. When I experience one or I just hear about a marketing task, I'm immediately like thinking, okay, this typical marketing process, how could I solve this problem more efficiently with AI tools? And that's kind of a challenge for me. And after working in digital marketing for around 15 years now, I have, to be completely honest, I have experienced kind of a burnout, as many people. And finding just gave me a new excitement. So I very much enjoy this learning path.
I was going to say this about burnout. I mean, it took you 15 years. I spent a little bit less time in digital marketing because originally I'm more from the sort of sales and importing side of wine. However, lately I spend a lot more time with digital marketing. And to be honest, burnout for me happens very often, and maybe in very small doses, but at the same time, I think we all experience that. But episode 3, if you guys want to watch, I'll put it into the show notes below, or I just put it up there too. to have a look, because with my guest Lee Isaacs, we talked about this a little bit, and I think we just had a very good discussion about this. But anyway, back to you. You mentioned that you are a sort of a self-learner and you want to learn by doing things. And I think it's a very good approach. However, AI education is sort of what you do. But where can people learn about AI? What is AI in general? Because a lot of people don't really know what AI is. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, of course. I'm actually running workshops on AI as well. And on my beginner workshop, this is the first topic that I'm covering for those who are absolutely new to AI, haven't heard maybe anything about AI. So yeah, AI stands for artificial intelligence. And I think the simplest explanation for it, that AI is a technology that aims to basically replicate human thinking, as it stands for in the name. So artificial intelligence, basically AI systems are trying to replicate human intelligence. That's the easiest way to comprehend what this technology is actually doing.
Where can people learn about it? Obviously, you have your own sort of platforms, or you have your own courses. But is there a place where people can actually learn in a sort of a school environment, or is that exist at all?
Yeah, that's a very common question I get. But the thing is that I think there is no one place to learn about AI. Obviously, there are some short courses, not just mine, but other courses obviously are available on the market, quite a few. But still, I think for this technology, if you want to have a shortcut, then I highly recommend taking a few short courses just to get yourself up to speed, at least with the basics. But from there, you have to dedicate, what I recommend to everyone is to dedicate at least a few hours every week when you are literally experimenting with AI tools. At the beginning, I recommend experimenting with ChatGPT simply, and try to solve your everyday tasks with ChatGPT, and just have a ChatGPT as an assistant to your everyday tasks. And I think that's the best way of learning. And other than that, obviously you can follow, there are many AI educators, top voice, even the leaders of the leading technology companies in AI are very active on social media. So you can follow them on LinkedIn, Twitter, or X, if you like. Lots of YouTube videos. You can subscribe to newsletters. So basically what I am doing is, I am spending hours on a daily basis purely consuming AI related content in form of podcasts, just following so many AI influencers in social media, subscribe to so many newsletters, but this is time consuming. And I'm aware that most people just don't have this much time. And for those, I recommend taking a short course, beginner course maybe for the basics, but then to make it really useful for yourself, just subscribe to ChatGPT. That's again something that's very much a game changer. The paid ChatGPT is significantly better than the free one. It really is a game changer. And use it first, just use it as an assistant for your everyday tasks.
How would you, I mean, obviously it's a very easy way to go about it in terms of just signing up for ChatGPT and trying things out a little bit. But I think a lot of people uses technology not really well at the moment, let's put it this way, because simply they don't know how to ask questions, or as we say in AI, how to prompt the artificial intelligence tool. How many other platforms do you have to actually use in order to to learn how to ask questions. Do you have any sort of tips on that?
Yes, for prompting, my basic workshop actually covers prompting, and I think that's what you can get from these basic AI courses, that these give you, including myself. I'm also giving a kind of a prompting framework to people. So yeah, you have to learn how to prompt, which means in ChatGPT basically how to ask questions, and not just ask questions, how to instruct the tools to perform certain tasks for you. But also for that, I mean, you can find guides on prompting, you can learn frameworks, but what I'm always saying, that you don't need to learn like exact prompts. I think it's the best if you understand the basics of prompting, which you can get from a short course, or even just Googling. I mean, like if you spend a few hours, then you can learn the basics. And then again, you have to experiment for yourself what works for you specifically, because we all do different tasks on a daily basis. And if you learn the frameworks of prompting and the basics, then you will be able to apply them in your everyday work. And again, just sitting there and experimenting, playing around, trialing and erroring all the time. Actually, this is how it works, because even the tools are not perfect. So I'm actually working on a case study at the moment as well. I've been working on it for days now, and I was just trying to refine my prompts for one particular case study on the one hand, but the other reason why it took me days to basically perfect the process that I'm working on is just because the ChatGPT in the last few days is again so unstable, and it just stops the generation. So yeah, these systems are not perfect. I think everyone is experimenting, including the tech companies.
So I assume everybody's working, everybody's learning at the same time, and we obviously want to talk a little bit more about how the wine industry could benefit from this, or where are we with AI in the wine industry? How do you think the AI tools can help wineries? Obviously, we can talk about production, we can talk about education and marketing. What are the basics? Because there's machine learning, there's artificial intelligence, and maybe people don't really understand the connections there. Where would you start? And also, what are the differences between the tools, what we can use in a winery, and what are the tools what we can use right now, like language models, for example, like ChatGPT would do in marketing world?
Yeah, before making the connection to the wine industry, I really would like to emphasize that AI is a technology which is disrupting the market. It is changing our entire life. I like to compare it to the early days of internet. If you just think back how much the internet actually changed our everyday life, AI is going to change our lives on every level and every aspect of our life, not just on a professional level, but also our personal life, in, I think, much more significantly than the internet did about 20 years ago. When was that? 25 rather. 25, 30 years ago, when internet went mainstream, internet access went mainstream. So AI is going to be much bigger than that. So you really need to deal with this. You really need to learn about this technology, because it will change our lives very, very significantly, very soon. And these changes are happening much faster than ever. So that's one thing. And that's the main reason why everyone really has to learn about AI. And specifically for the wine industry, wine industry tends to be, let's put it this way, less advanced on the technology and digital technology front than other industries.
Can we call them backwards? Sorry, I'm only talking about myself, so that's fair enough.
Yes.
I can call them backwards. Okay. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So for the wine industry, which is typically a bit slowly adopting digital technologies, I think first the adoption of ChatGPT can be a significant contribution to their everyday work. Just to give you a few ideas what you can use ChatGPT for in your everyday work, even if you are a wine company. ChatGPT, if you have never used, as Csaba, you said, it's a so-called large language model, which means that it is a tool which was trained on and still is trained on a huge amount of text data. And basically, it generates text outcome from text data. So basically, just to give you everyday use cases, you can generate any kind of text with ChatGPT. You can generate your emails. It can speed up your emailing process, whether they be just your everyday business emails or your marketing emails, any kind of text. So you can do your translations with the help of these tools. You can do if you have to do presentations, product descriptions, social media content, and the tool is capable of doing even more complex tasks than that. You can use it for, if we are talking about marketing, you can use it for brainstorming processes as well. You can brainstorm entire campaigns with this tool. And actually, it helps a lot with, let's say, a creative block as well, because I am using it for brainstorming, for example, quite often. It helps a lot to speed up the process, to give you creative ideas as well. So it's a very, very multifunctional tool, I would say. And I think for those who are new to the AI technology, I do believe that ChatGPT, understanding and implementing ChatGPT and integrating ChatGPT in your everyday work is the best first step that you can do. And I promise you, once you start working with ChatGPT, you will get enthusiastic about the technology. You will want to learn more about this because you will experience that your production, your productiveness will go through the roof. Absolutely. You will experience that you will be able to do your work, either your work in less time, or you will be able to do much more work within the same amount of time, which is actually, I think, very, very motivating for everyone. And that's what I hear back from people I'm working with as well. And the next step from there, if the company has its own data, you can think about training models on your data, automate processes, maybe automate your customer service. Even in the production, I'm not that much into that field. I'm sure that there are AI applications for the wine production as well. I'm not that much into that, more in the everyday marketing work and production and the productivity uses of AI. But yeah, for the office work, it is really beneficial and useful for everyone.
You actually mentioned quite a few things what you can do with AI, but I think what we don't realize that, and we talked about this very briefly before we actually hit the record button, that AI is not exactly new technology, because if you think about it, I have it on my wrist, you have it on your wrist as well. So if you look at it that way, I think AI has been with us for quite a while. In fact, I think
for over 10 years already.
And our understanding of AI is just became what it is now. However, I think when you think about it, AI technology itself, it comes from somewhere from the 60s, if I remember well. I'm not sure where the actual data starts from, but they created AI a very, very long time ago. It just been on pause because the technology couldn't keep up with AI, or AI couldn't keep up with technology. I don't know which way it worked or which way it didn't work, but it just became mainstream. It just became a very hot topic at the moment. What is still interesting, how much people still not willing to give it a try, maybe because a lot of people still think about it as the end of human civilization, which is obviously a big fear of many people, although there's the other end of the spectrum where people think that this is going to solve everything. Where do you think it's going to go? Is it
Most people are in between.
Yes, hopefully.
So these were the two extremes.
Yes, because I think when you think back, obviously we didn't live back then, but industrial revolution and having a tractor in your farm, which is technically, it could be a vineyard as well, having a tractor in your farm helped a lot and speeded things up, and people thought, oh, this is from the devil and this is not good, and other people thought that this is gonna solve loads of problems, and then I think it did solve a lot of problems. Slightly off topic, will AI solve the major issues of the world? What do you think?
I think there is a great chance for that AI will solve our major issues, but I'm also sure that we will experience major disruptions until we get there. And just to pick up on that, you were mentioning the Industrial Revolution, and I have heard many people comparing AI to the Industrial Revolution and saying that, yeah, actually the Industrial Revolution also brought us so many good things. And I don't like this comparison, to be honest. And let me tell you why, for two reasons. People tend to forget two major things about the Industrial Revolution. And one thing to factor in, that when the Industrial Revolution happened, the population of the earth was much less than today. That's one thing. So the population now is over 8 billion. I'm not sure how many it was when the Industrial Revolution happened, but I guess it was around 5. So we have to give work to more people. So it's a completely different situation. That's one thing. And that's the other thing, is that actually then there was a phase during the Industrial Revolution when there was a huge disruption, when many people lost their livelihoods, and there was a massive disruption. After which there was a consolidation, as it always happens in history. And I do expect the same from the AI technology, and not just me, all the AI experts actually expect the same. In this transition period, while we are adopting this new technology into our everyday life, we are already going through this disruption phase. It hasn't really accelerated yet, but it will. And there will be people during this phase who are going to suffer from this in many ways. And unfortunately, I think it's unavoidable and inevitable that there will be people who will. But how can you benefit from this phase, and how can you prepare yourself for this phase? I think the best approach that you can take is to educate yourself and learn about the technology and figure out how you can use it to your advantage. That's the best approach that you can take. And if you are open to this new technology, if you are open to learning about it and implementing it into your life, then you are less likely to be impacted negatively by the technology.
I agree with you completely. What is absolutely shocking, mind-blowing, and at the same time scary is Sam Altman, who is the CEO and founder of OpenAI, the company who created ChatGPT. I heard a podcast interview with him and Bill Gates talking about this. I think it's about half an hour. It's worth listening to, although sometimes it's hard language.
Yeah, just listen to that.
Yeah, so they're two people who talk very much the same language, and sometimes it's a bit difficult to understand what they're saying. But the basic idea is that even Sam Altman, who essentially created this technology, or not necessarily he created, but he was one of the founding. Yeah, even he admits that he doesn't know what's going to happen. And one thing is for sure, that big things are going to happen, and we definitely have to get ready for these sort of changes. And I think sometimes that's why I worried a little bit, because I think the wine industry, and I mentioned this in previous podcast episodes as well, and I'm probably going to mention in many other podcast episodes, the wine industry is a sort of a slow adopter in new technologies. And I think that is a worry, that they won't be able to actually pick up the pace very quickly. And I think that is why it's important to talk about the topic, and that is why it's important to start doing things, even if they are just the basic things, but start learning about it, because as you say, it will be impacting a lot of people around the world. And I think there are small basic things, as you mentioned, ChatGPT, or for example with this video. For example, when I'm editing this video, I'm using a tool called Descript, which actually takes out so much of my time, from an editing perspective. I edited video with other tools, and it's just unbelievable. The speed of the thing is just a different level. And I think if we can implement this in many other ways, it makes life easier and probably keeps you probably a step ahead of the competition.
That's exactly what I wanted to say, that for the wine industry, I don't really think that they are the one who are falling behind, but those wine companies who are adopting the AI technology early then can gain a significant competitive advantage over their competitors. And I think that's the point here. And actually there are a few companies. I'm also working with a wine company you were mentioning at the beginning of the podcast. I do have a quite big winery from Hungary, the Laposa. For our Hungarian viewers, you might have heard of them. We started working together. The CEO of Laposa reached out to me recently that he is a really forward-thinking leader of the winery, and he realized that they need to adapt this technology. They want to have this competitive advantage in their industry, and wine industry is very competitive, actually, let's be honest. So we started working together, and we are trying to find ways together to implement AI into their everyday work, into their productivity, marketing first. Those are the two obvious things. And what I recommend to any business, actually, and it applies to the wine businesses as well, that I also highly recommend as a first step to appoint someone. It can be someone within the team who is responsible for the AI. Obviously, it's just a part-time responsibility within a team, but this person should be responsible for the implementation of AI within the company. We can call it like Chief AI Officer or whatever. This position actually exists already in big companies. I don't think that you need to create a separate position for this within a wine business, but this can be a part responsibility for someone within the team, and definitely at a senior level. And this person should be responsible for training the team maybe writing AI use policy for the company, building AI tool libraries or prompt libraries, and just to keep up with the AI trend and identify those areas within the business that could benefit the most from AI, which can be different for every business. But I believe for most businesses, the first area is marketing, where it can have the biggest impact on the everyday work and on the productivity of the team.
I was going to say, actually, you mentioned it's obviously chief AI officer exists already in certain companies, and I think it's obvious it's going to be one of the major tasks of new companies, creating these sort of positions. One thing I would argue with is that this role can be a part-time position. For a small company, obviously, they won't be able to fulfill a full role, and they won't have the resources to actually add a full-time senior level salary to this. However, I think any forward-thinking company should seriously consider, if not a full-time, an almost full-time position in their company dedicated to this, because in the long term, first of all, the advantage what they going to gain just by creating all these things what you just mentioned, just a prompt library, just to have certain rules and regulations within the company regarding how to use an AI model, or which AIs the company can use, the advantage on its own is huge, and productivity levels will bring your money back. So the return on investment, although in the beginning it might not be significant, it will be huge. I think that's my prediction about it. So I think it's almost going to be a C-level position in any serious company in a very short period of time, which will be, you have your CFOs, you have your CMOs, you will have your AIOs. I don't know.
Something like that.
That sounds bad, but they have to come up with better names. But yeah, but I think that's one thing I would argue. I think it's as a part-time role. Yes, it is doable. It is possible, but there's a lot of work to be done there, and the return on investment will be huge just from the time and resource saving what you can create with AI tools, and especially that day of age when the development is so fast, you have to keep on top of these tasks. I don't know if you agree with that.
I can absolutely see this as a full-time job. I totally agree with you. However, I know how businesses work and how limited resources most of them have. So purely for that reason, that I don't think that most businesses have enough, mostly financial resources, to employ a full-time, let's say, chief AI officer within their company yet. But so it is better to give this responsibility part-time to someone than doing nothing.
I mean, if you have the resources, I would recommend to have a full-time position, a very high-level full-time position. Logically, it's somehow connected to the marketing side of things, I would say. At this stage, I think logic says that. It might change, actually.
On the other hand, I would say finding talent for this position is a challenge at the moment, because there are very few people who have a good understanding of AI. And there are the AI engineers, even they are scarce. And obviously AI engineers are in a high demand. But that's not necessarily, that's not the type of knowledge that you necessarily need in your company.
Unless you want to create your own artificial intelligence.
If you want to create your own AI tool or AI model, then maybe yes. But this itself is a new position which requires new skills, and most people are learning this. So actually you need a person who understands the business very well, who is open to new technology, who is an early adopter, who has a good understanding of new technologies in general, and is able to work with different stakeholders. But this is a new job description as well. It is already happening on the market. I have already met a few actual chief AI officers, but these people are all working at huge global companies.
Yes. Okay.
This position has only appeared at that level as a full-time role. But yeah, as a part-time, you can just add this responsibility to someone else's role, or you can work together with a consultant. As
I was going to say, there's a, which I also mentioned to you just before our chat here, that there is Treasury Wine Estate in the US who created a brand purely on AI. So everything what they created for the whole brand is AI generated, from the imagery, from the text-based, things like tasting notes or whatever on the wines, all the way through to whatever video content, and literally even the coding for their website is AI generated. So I think big companies definitely can afford these sort of people and can afford to have an AI officer. I don't know if Treasury Wine Estate actually have a CAIO. It's still weird, but yeah, Chief Artificial Intelligence Officer. But certainly there are examples popping up within the wine industry as well. So I think that will happen. What would you say from your experience with Laposa Wine Estate in Hungary? What are the basic things what you going to work, or you working already? What are the tools that what they are using? What are they trying to achieve with AI at the moment?
Yeah, what I can share about that project is that obviously we are trying to identify those areas within the business where the application of AI tools can have the biggest impact on the business. And at the very beginning, that seems to be marketing and the overall business management and productivity.
So they are talking about more on the marketing side with language models rather than technology in the winery or in the vineyard, I'm guessing.
No, they are very much open to everything, but obviously for them, as for everyone else, it is a learning curve.
Yeah.
And yeah, they also have to just first learn what the technology is capable of, and then you have to consider obviously the resources you have available, where you invest, where you allocate not just money but also your time and your focus. And if you make all those assessments, then typically marketing is the first obvious point to start your implementation process.
I think I can agree with you on that, because obviously, first of all, I'm not working in a winery or not working in the vineyard. I'm working on the marketing side of things as well. So I can only see benefits there. And there are plenty of benefits from, image generation to video content to just text-based content creation as well, and on the productivity level as well. You mentioned that a lot of people will be impacted by this. What do you reckon? How far away from that are we in terms of when it really kicks off, when it really happens? It's obviously it's nothing to do with wine in this case, but generally, what would you say? Can we anticipate things in the next few years, or is it going to be a decade or more?
It is already happening. That's my, sorry to bring you the bad news, but actually big companies in the US, and the US is leading in the AI industry. Many big companies have announced layoffs again in the new year. So in the past 2 weeks, some of them publicly admitting that the layoffs are partly due to AI already. So this is already happening, not at a large scale yet, but everyone is expecting AI to disrupt the job market very soon. I would say it's definitely within a few years. I'm afraid sooner than we want it to. I don't think that this is actually a bad thing. So what I'm always telling everyone who is worried about the job market disruption is that yes, it is going to happen. Yes, it will impact most jobs. Very likely that yours as well, but marketers definitely. But again, those people who adopt and implement AI will be definitely in a better position than those who not. And after the disruption phase, I think we will somehow, so we will get out at the end of this whole disruption being in a better position, meaning that I think that working hours will be gradually reduced. I see a future where we will work less, which is, I think, is a good thing, because I do believe that humanity just works too much. Because yeah, like 40 hours a week for more than 40 years of your life, you are working through your best decades in your life. That's not sustainable. So yeah, we will work less, which is good. But in order to be able to work less, we have to figure out a new system, and that will take time. Countries are already working on it, including the UK. There is a special ministry, AI ministry in the UK as well. Actually, the UK is also running a test program already on universal basic income. Many people say that universal basic income will be unavoidable, even though there are so many questions around how this is going to happen or whether it is going to happen, but I think it's unavoidable. I think it's not a question whether it is going to happen, it's just a question of how it is going to happen. Also, the EU has its own AI department. So most countries are aware of the issue, are aware of the disruptions ahead of us, and are already working on solutions. So what I'm telling everyone, that the best that you can do for yourself in your own life is, again, just learning as much as possible. Be prepared, because there is a chance that you will be impacted in a bad way. I'm also telling everyone that I think in this world where we are living now, it is a good idea to have a bit bigger savings account for potential hard times. So if you haven't developed a savings spot for yourself, then I highly recommend doing that while this disruption is going to happen. And yeah, just learn as much as possible, because definitely people who are ahead of the curve will be in a much better position.
I think I don't know if you heard, I can't remember his name. I'm terrible with names, but I can't remember his name. And he was I believe the ex-CEO of Google X. And he talked to Steve Bartlett on on Diary of a CEO. And he said something which sort of stayed with me, and I think that just it's a scary prospect. The whole conversation was quite scary, actually, especially that it came from an insider. And he said something like, "There's a fair chance that we all going to live some sort of a remote tropical island somewhere, either for the reason because AI is doing everything for us and we're just enjoying life, or the version B, what can happen is that we are hiding from AI.
And nobody knows which one is going to happen. I think how I view this is the thing is that all the current and previous AI technology developers and leaders share not the same but very similar thoughts on this. They all admit that there is a chance that things go wrong if AI gets into bad hands. So there is a chance for that. But I don't believe and I don't think that we as regular people really have to fear this. If it happens, it happens. We won't be able to avoid that. So I think you just have to live your best life and hope for the best and just turn AI to your advantage as much as you can.
I think that would be a very good ending to this podcast, because I think it explains everything about AI. So literally, just to sum it up, I think we can't do anything about it except learn, adapt, and hope for the best, because that's all what we can do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We didn't talk about a few subjects which I wanted to talk about. However, I think it was a good chat, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope people enjoyed it who listened to it. And I just really wanted to ask everyone to be ready, especially in the wine industry, because it's, as you said, that basically it's an industry which could benefit a lot from this sort of new technology, from AI generally, and there's plenty of scope to help us in terms of creating a more productive life, working less potentially, or achieving more. But I think generally there's a lot to learn about AI, and we didn't talk about how far the wine industry is or isn't behind. But I think there's plenty to work on in the near future. I certainly try to do my best, but I think I'm suffering from this same problem as many other people in the world, that when you have your life and when you have your work and you have your sort of work-life balance, how to put a little bit more AI education in. But I think if anybody is interested or listening, I'm going to put your contact details and probably your LinkedIn account in the show notes below, because I think that's where you can help most people in the long run, hopefully.
Yeah, thank you. I'm regularly sharing updates on AI on my LinkedIn account. I'm giving learning resources as well and sharing case studies. So yeah, please do follow me.
So thank you very much, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please, I always forget to say this, but press the little bell button down there, and please follow me. I'm going to do weekly podcasts now, and obviously it's going not just on YouTube but on Spotify as well if you prefer audio. I completely forget to run my own advertising, but never mind, next time, hopefully I don't forget it. But anyway, thank you very much, Belle, and thanks for everyone for tuning in.
Thank you for having me.
Cheers.
Cheers.